Talk to you about what's going on in the world of sports. Here is Jeff in Brooklyn. He'll start off this segment. He's on Mad Dog Unleashed. Jeff, good afternoon. It's your turn. How are you today, pal? Are you there, Jeffrey? All right. Eddie hasn't answered the phone properly. Jeff, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Peter in Albany, New York. Peter, welcome. How are you today, pal? Okay?
Thanks for taking my call. I was going to talk about the NCAA, but you stunned me with that news on Jimmy Graham.
Yeah, I'm surprised by that, too. I thought a lot of people thought back to the Saints.
Playing with a quarterback that can throw the football. Seattle misused him for both years they had.
Well, I mean, Wilson you're right. Wilson, and remember, Seattle lost Paul Richardson today, who signed a contract with the Redskins. So Seattle lost a couple. Boy, Seattle really has changed the whole culture of the team. They've gotten rid of everybody. Richardson, Bennett,
I'll tell you something,
Sherman.
Rodgers absolutely loves throwing to the tight end.
Oh, he sure does. J. Michael Finley a long time ago. Obviously, the kid who made the big catch in the Dallas game who went to the Raiders. 100% right. 100%. This is a very good move. Go ahead.
I want to just make one quick point on the NCAA tournament. I cannot believe how easy a road that Villanova has to get to the Final Four compared to the other three regions.
Unless you think. Now, how about Purdue though? You don't think Purdue's a great team?
No shit. They've never played well in the tournament. And the third seed is, I believe, Texas Tech. And I cannot believe the 2 and 3 seeds are even 2 and 3 seeds.
I like Purdue. I agree with you on Texas Tech. I like Purdue myself, Peter. I think Purdue is due for a big run. I think they're going to play well in this NCAA. I agree with you wholeheartedly, though. Let me get my little papers out. I got them right in front of me here, my little... let me find my... Eddie, could you get my bag for me, please, and get my bracket. I do think that Villanova, listen, they got West Virginia they're going to have to concern themselves with quite possibly. They have, but I do, and they have Texas Tech sitting there. Everybody thinks that maybe they're not that great. We will see. Let me look at my thing. Here we go. No, that's where is my damn, boy, I have been out of it today trying to, it's so hard to do shows and make sure the producer knows what he's doing too. Very difficult. I got 2 jobs. Every day I got to get Eddie making sure he's on top of it. All right, that's the Villanova, Wichita State. They in West Virginia. They're going to play probably the winner of that game. Texas Tech is the 3 seed. Purdue. Yeah, I think Purdue could be dangerous, Peter, but I understand your point on the rest of them. I really do. Ron in Michigan. He's with us here. He's on Mad Dog Unleashed. Ronnie, good afternoon. How are you today?
Hey, Doug, I want to talk a little baseball with you. You know baseball. Why didn't the Cubs just pay Arrieta $75 million instead of the Phillies, instead of giving Yu Darvish $107
because
million?
I think when the Cubs were about ready to make a move with a pitcher, I think that Arrieta was not ready to sign yet. I think if we do it all over again, the Cubs would have waited Arrieta out. And I agree, they would have signed Arrieta over Darvish. But I think when the Cubs wanted to get something done before spring training and get a pitcher in there, the only guy who was willing to sign was Darvish. I think the Cubs did not want to deal with Boris and his antics. I don't think they wanted to wait until the middle of spring training. This is what happened. And, I think that maybe they were a little worried about, the asking price of Arrieta, which, he thought was going to be northwards of $150 million. So from that perspective, I think the idea that Boris extended Arrieta this late scared the Cubs off, to be honest with you. Go ahead.
Well, do you like to sign him for the Phillies?
Yeah, I do. I think it's only money. The Phillies needed a pitcher. I think if the Phillies think he is going to be a difference maker of winning at all, they're mistaken. That won't occur because they're not ready to win at all. But if the Phillies are in a situation where he makes them a little bit more dangerous, he gives them an anchor at the rotation, or he'd be a third starter on a good team. All right? He'd be the third starter in Washington. He'd be the third starter with the Red Sox. He'd be a third starter, in Cleveland maybe even. He'd be a third starter with after Sale and Price. He'd be a third starter after Verlander and Keuchel. He'd be a third starter So from that perspective, that doesn't make him, at this point of his career, an ace. Now, he was an ace a year and a half, 2 years ago, but he's fallen off and he's 32 years of age. Can he restore himself to that level? Remains to be seen. But the Phillies don't have anybody who's even a second starter. So from this standpoint, I think it makes a little sense. Here's Mark in Maryland, and he's with us here, and he's on Mad Dog Unleashed. Marky, good afternoon.
Hey, how you doing, Chris?
Marky, thank you. What's on your mind now?
I was going to talk about Tiger, but let me just point out on Arrieta. He'd be a number 2 in L.A., right, on the Dodgers?
Right now he would be. Yeah, right now he'd be number 2.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised they didn't jump in.
Well, they got a lot of money with Rich Hill. They got money with Maeda. They got money with Rayu. They got Urias, who they still like. They got Alex Wood sitting there. I mean, they got a lot of number 3 starters, L.A., after Kershaw. They feel they can get a pitcher later on. They don't have to run to it right now. That's the bottom line.
You're probably right. They got enough money. They can do what they want to do. But, I was watching that golf amazingly over the weekend with Tiger being in the running there. And one thing I noticed, like on that, when he missed that little 10-footer on 14 there, you kind of know he's still not back all the way yet, because in the old days those were like automatics for him.
Yeah, I agree. A couple missed putts there in certain spots, and also I didn't like the 2-iron on 18.
Right.
When you need a birdie there, he needed a birdie. He didn't quite have enough confidence to stick the ball 350 yards in the middle of the fairway with his 3-wooder driver, with driver specifically, and that was interesting. He went 2-iron there. He hit a good shot, but he left himself 190 yards away, and he needed a birdie there to get up and down from 190 is not easy.
No.
On a tiered green on 18 and on a nice course, that's a tough up and down.
Yeah, no doubt.
He needed to put the ball where Patrick Reed put the ball, but he didn't trust his driver. So That's the one thing. Go ahead.
But like the people down in Augusta are like praying. They're going to church every day praying that Tiger can somehow stay in contention for the weekend down there. Really be good for golf and for the fans too.
Listen, I don't think Augusta cares that much. They think their tournament will carry the day more so than any particular player. But the more up-to-date member in Augusta, the guy who's a little more hip, understands TV, and I do think you're right. I think Tiger would add a lot of elements there. It's gonna be a great Masters. There's no way around it. You got Mickelson, Tiger, and all these young guns, Thomas and Spieth and Dustin Johnson and Jason Day. You're gonna have a hell of a tournament. That Masters is going to be one hell of a weekend. It really is. And it's away from Easter, and it's early in April. It's the first weekend. It's April 5th this year, not the 10th. It's going to be, so it stays away from hockey and everything else. That is going to be one whale of a tournament. No question about it. Looking forward to it. Chris in Riverdale, New York, and he's with us here on Mad Dog Unleashed. Christopher, good afternoon. How are you today?
Hey, Chris. Been a long time since I spoke with you. I'm a refugee.
Refugee. We love the refugees. Let's play that. There you go. Bouncing around, some pond somewhere, looking for some radio, not getting turned on by 660, so you find us here. Go ahead. Fire away.
Absolutely. And Chris, I heard you a couple of weeks ago on a replay on Howard Stern. I thought you were great. Very entertaining. Chris, I felt like I got punched by Tom Coughlin this morning. He took my guard, Norwell. I thought the Giants maybe should have cut Dwayne Harris.
I didn't know that. The Jacksonville got the offensive lineman, not the Giants. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. He's killing me, Chris. He's still coming back, and we need some protection for Eli, and I really do believe that if we have a running game and can protect him, we're much better than our record shows. I think there's still a little more left in Eli. But you think that why does that happen sometimes where they don't cut a guy outright? Like, let's take Dwayne Harris and Brandon Marshall. Marshall's on the hook for $6 million. Why wouldn't you say to him, take 3? Why would say Gettleman? Why would he wait?
I don't, and remember, Brandon Harris is another one coming off that injury. They can cut him and save a little money. As you said, Marshall's making $6.5 million. The salary cap configurations, very tricky to figure that out. Very tricky. Jordy Nelson released by the Packers today. How about that? Wow. I could see him retiring, that. He loves Rodgers so much, I can see it's not worth his aggravation. We'll see where he goes. And he's banged up a lot. But interesting there as far as the offensive line. I know the Giants liked him. Gettleman knew him in Carolina, and he goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars instead. How about that? Boy, I'll tell you, the Jaguars, they are going to run the ball, and they're going to try to run the ball all the way to the Super Bowl 53 is what they're going to try to do. We take a timeout. Sports by time. Who's got it? David Lang. Mad Dog.